Hi, this is Frode and welcome back to Actualized Notes TV. I had told you that our next video would be on the power of mindful learning, but it turns out I didn't find enough ideas to create a note and a video. So I jumped on to the great book we'll have today, The Rise of Superman by Steven Kotler. The Rise of Superman. Subtitle, Decoding the Science of Ultimate Human Performance. Steven Kotler is a best-selling author, award-winning journalist, and co-founder of the Flow Genome Project, where they're all about decoding the science of the peak performance state of flow, which we'll talk about today. And in this book, The Rise of Superman, the subtitle basically says everything, that we're decoding the science of ultimate human performance to find out how we can perform at our best. And how he does he unpacks a lot of fascinating research and tells a lot of great stories to help us understand the ideas and apply them to our lives. I have my favorite 5 big ideas here that we'll go through. 5 practical big ideas, and to help you take these ideas from theory to practice, to actually apply them to your life, I want you to just reflect on which of the ideas resonate most with you, inspire you to take some action, and also how they relate to your personal experiences. Then you can write down certain principles that you can review to yourself. Just remind yourself of the ideas until they become an embodied part of you. For now, let's go through them. First big idea is flow. 3 triggers. First, what is flow? Stephen basically tells us that flow is that state of consciousness where we feel and perform at our best. We are just fully absorbed in what we're doing. We're not having any self-consciousness or we are pretty much enjoying ourselves and performing at our best, and time seems to be just flying by. And he says there are 3 internal triggers that help us access this flow state based on the research of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, which we'll dive a line into when we read the book on flow. The 3 internal triggers are: 1, clear goals. Got to have really clear goals of what you want to achieve. 2, want immediate feedback, not Facebook, immediate feedback. So you basically can discern the relation between cause and effect. Input, what you do, and output, what results you get, whether you reach your goal or not. You're basically reaching and seeing whether you hit the target or not, and what you need to do to hit it. Basically what Thomas Sterner talks about in The Practicing Mind. Do, observe, correct. DOC. First you do something, for example shoot a bow at a target, then you observe where did it hit, low, high, was it in the middle, and you don't judge whether you did a good shot or not. You just observe, see what happens, and then you correct. So, maybe I need to aim a little bit higher, a little to the right or to the left. Do observe, correct. Immediate feedback. And third one is the challenge to skill ratio. You need to be clear on the challenge. There needs to be a good relationship between the challenge of what you're doing and the skill you have. So Daniel Coyle echoes this wisdom in his book, The Little Book of Talent, where he basically says that there are 3 zones. The first is our comfort zone, where we perform almost no mistakes. It's just comfortable in our practice or our learning, and it's pretty easy. Then we have the sweet spot. This is where we want to perform, which is when we're feeling a little bit of a struggle and we are reaching for our target of what we're trying to accomplish. For example, when I forget what I have to say here and then reach to get back to the ideas and points I want to make without using notes. And you're in that sweet spot and you learn and practice most effectively. And then you have your survival zone. A bit hard to see here, but survival zone, where you're anxious because your challenge is way past your skill level. So you want to have a good challenge to skill ratio. It's got to be a little bit difficult, but not so much that you snap. It's not so easy that you're bored. So what are your 3 flow triggers? What's your concrete goal? For example, in 1 year and down to right now. Do you have immediate feedback? And your challenge to skill ratio? Do you have an optimal one? Next big idea is flow disruption. How long do you think it takes to get back into flow, that optimal state of performance, after you're disrupted? You're distracted, some push notification, email, text message, or somebody asks you a question or tells you something. How long do you think it takes to get back into that flow state? 15 minutes. 15 minutes is how long it takes. And that's if you can get back at all. And this is really powerful if you think about it. When I can tell a personal story to illustrate it. When I did my first year of economics studies, me and 4 of my friends, or 5, would sit together and do work on problems in math and finance. And sometimes I would work alone and sometimes with them. And what I noticed was that when I sat alone, I could get into this really focused and absorbed state, pretty much the flow state that I didn't know by then, where I could solve a lot of problems effectively and learn effectively. But then when I sat with the others, I could also get into that state. But when somebody asked me a question or said something, told a joke or a story, then I got out of that state. And it would take a lot of time before I got into that absorbed, focused state again, if I even did. It would feel somewhat like riding a bike at full throttle, before somebody suddenly stops you midway, and you only have the highest gear in your bike. So it's really tough to get going again. And that's kind of what happens when your flow is disrupted. So my number 1 tip would be to, at least sometimes, work alone and practice so you can get into that flow state without having disruptions. Daniel Coyle talks about how in a study of musicians, the main difference between top amateurs and world-class performers was that world-class performers practiced 5 times more alone in isolation than the top amateurs did. And this is from the Little Book of Talent, by the way. So how will you make it so that your flow is not disrupted so easily? Situational awareness. This is a really cool idea, and the best Steven says that situational awareness is pretty much the ability to stay cool when all hell breaks loose. And the best way I know to frame this is practice under pressure. If you're going to perform an exam at school, you want to, in a few weeks or months before the exam, as many times as you can, test yourself. Have a specific time frame that you have to complete the test within, and you can't use the books, and that creates a sense of pressure because you can't look in the book and you have a certain time frame to complete it within. And that's basically practicing under pressure, trying to simulate the environment that you'll have when you are being tested. It's the difference between a flight simulator, where you're all immersed in the experience, and a PowerPoint presentation, where you're basically sitting there and think you can absorb things, but it is not very stressful, and it doesn't very much replicate what you will be experiencing in the test. And learning scientists talk about this, researchers, Peter Brown and 2 leading neuroscientists, or cognitive scientists in the book Make It Stick, says that if you want to learn and be able to transfer your learning between different subjects or different areas of your life, you need to vary your practice. They talk about a fascinating beanbag study, where some kids are throwing beanbags only at 3 feet targets. 3 feet. Others throwing at 2 and 4 feet targets, but not the 3 feet target. Come competition day, those who hit the 3 feet target the most times is those who never practiced hitting the 3 feet target. But that group of kids who only threw beanbags at 2 to 4 feet, they varied their practice. How can you vary your practice in order to increase your situational awareness so you will be prepared when the time comes to be tested? Next, second wind. Steven uses a really fascinating passage from James, I think it's William James, the philosopher and psychologist. And he said that most of us, we don't actually explore the immense possibilities that we have of energy They're extra reservoirs we have because we are too disrupted by the fatigue obstacle sense that obstacles and hard things depletes our energy and just drains us. But he says that if we can push through that obstruction or obstacles or difficulty or fatigue, then we might get a second wind and realize that we have extremely much greater reservoirs of energy than we could imagine. And one time I've experienced this, or many times, is during runs, where I suddenly feel really tired and just exhausted. And then suddenly, if I just keep running, I feel immensely energized again. So if you feel fatigue, how about trying to push through it? If you feel not feeling really motivated to work in your business or in your studies, or you feel really tired during your run, how about trying to push through it and gain a second wind of energy? A mantra I like is, obstacles make me stronger. I got it from Brian Johnson, and it basically says that you use it. Obstacles make me stronger when you're about to do something difficult, because obstacles literally makes you stronger and you become more ready to face the challenge. Next big idea, visualization. This is also a really cool idea that we'll be talking a lot more about as we dive into mental training books, peak performance books, forward. And the basic idea is that if you can visualize, imagine yourself doing the impossible, it actually becomes possible. The most common example is the Roger Bannister effect. You might have heard about Roger Bannister, who is the first person in the world to break the 4-minute mile, who ran the 4-minute mile, less than 4 minutes. Before that, physiologists and other people would say that it was physically impossible. But then after he actually ran that sub 4-minute mile, other people could start imagining themselves doing it too. And they couldn't before he did. So when they could imagine themselves doing it, a lot more people actually began to run the sub 4-minute mile. And it makes me wonder, what is it that you think is impossible to achieve in your life? Whether it's starting a profitable business, getting a degree, getting a job you love, or getting in a relationship you want to be in, or improving your health. What do you imagine is possible? And what types of people, or what can you search for on YouTube, or what books can you read to start expanding your sense of what's possible by learning more about the people who have actually accomplished what it is you want to achieve? That's visualization. Another fun fact is that your brain can't tell the difference between doing something and imagine yourself doing it. So you actually fire the same neurons if you're actually walking on a board high in the air and you're imagining yourself walking a board. So you'll be more prepared to face the challenge. Visualization is powerful, and as I said, we'll dive more into it. But for now, what do you think is impossible? What can you do to expand your sense of what's possible so you can see yourself doing it? Second wind, when you feel fatigue, tired, not so motivated, try to push through it and see in 5, 15 minutes or 2 hours if you feel more motivated. Or energy, situational awareness. How can you vary your practice in order to be better prepared to face challenges and the situation you will be in, whether it's a test or a race? Flow disruption. Takes 15 minutes to get into flow, if you even get back into flow after being disrupted. How can you make sure that you are disrupted as little as possible? And flow triggers. Do you have clear goals? Do you have immediate feedback as to when you're reaching for those goals? And do you have a proper challenge to skill ratio? You're not anxious because it's way too high. You're not bored because it's way too low. Your challenges is way higher than your skills. But it's a good ratio. You're in the sweet spot. Okay, that's a quick look at the rise of Superman. Highly enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed, I think you'll enjoy the book. The next book we'll feature is No Limits, a biography from Michael Phelps, the most decorated athlete in history, if I remember correctly. For now, what's the number one idea that really resonated with you? You reflected on it, right? Think about it and think about what's the first step you can take towards applying it to your life more consistently starting today. One good tip I have, write down a concise principle, which is belief or rule for how you want to behave, ideal belief or rule, and review it 30 to 90 days until it's pretty much an unconscious thought. So it will pretty much come to you as you do the behavior, as you're about to do the behavior that you want to do. Okay. Thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to sharing more wisdom with you soon. Have another awesome day, and let's actualize so we can give our greatest gifts in heroic service to the world. See ya.
Hi, this is Frode. You might know me from the work I do on YouTube, but I also want to tell you that you can gain access to a ton of more wisdom at my website, Actualizer.me. And here, I focus all of my energies on answering the question, how can I help you actualize your life on a day-to-day basis? Because I know that even though you want to actualize your life and develop yourself, you're too busy to read all day. And that's why I'm all about sharing wisdom made practical. Fun, inspiring, and practical wisdom you can apply to your life immediately. And I do it through something I call Actualized Notes, which include big ideas from 100 plus of the best and most transformative books on optimal living. It's notes from a fellow actualizer who wants to embody and help you embody these ideas more consistently in your life. And these actualized notes include 100 plus practical PDFs, which is 6-page PDFs with condensed wisdom ready for use. These are recorded into 100 plus MP3 guides, because all ANs are recorded as MP3 so you can actualize on the go. I also create 10 to 20 minute ANTV episodes, which I upload on YouTube. And these are again converted into MP3 files so you can get access to them on the Actualized podcast. And all this work includes over 750 big ideas from ancient philosophers, modern scientists, and your own common sense, explained for easy use. You can gain instant access at my website, Actualizer.me, and you can get a free 30-day trial, and then it will be $10 per month. You can cancel it whenever you want, and I price the membership program so low, so you can tap into practical wisdom no matter how you're standing financially. Alright, I hope you'll join me on this hero's journey of actualizing our potential. See ya.